Missy Gal here. Welcome to my first episode of That Happened to Me. So, this is a series I'm going to start where I'm just going to tell you guys what happened in my life. Stuff that actually happened to me. Not like stuff like I got out of bed and ate food. Yeah, a lot of people get out of bed. A lot of people sleep. And stuff like that. So, this is going to be like a little storytelling time. Okay, so this first title is, wrong hand, is Frenemie. And here's what happened. So, this was actually an elementary school story. And to be honest, this story is actually open-ended for myself. I don't even know how this story ended. I don't know why. I should have just yelled his face. Right, so here's what happened. Alright, so I was in grade 1, and I went to a kindergarten. Let's start with kindergarten. I went to a kindergarten, and that kindergarten was a 30-minute walk from my house, which was very exhausting. And then after kindergarten, I had to get transferred from that school to a new school that just got built. And it was a little better except for the part where I had to take a bus. So, there was a church right next to the apartments I lived in. I lived with my brother and my mother. There are convenience stores at the bottom and apartments on the top. We lived in a 2-story apartment, but only had 2 bedrooms, so my mom got a fold-out couch for herself. It's actually quite comfortable. I'm shocked. Ever since I have a fold-out couch, it's not comfortable, and I'm sitting on one right now. Ignore the bed frame. It's just an old... This is actually my own bedroom. When the story was taking place, this was my bed frame. Hope I didn't break it. Anyway, so I went to a completely new school for grade 1. And in grade 1, I had this one best friend named Alicia. So, Alicia and I were really close, and we met in kindergarten, blah, blah, blah. So in grade 1, Alicia was sick, and I didn't know what to do at recess. I was just a grade 1, and it was winter, so I was just sitting on the snow dunes, making little snowballs, and I was actually making tiny little snowmen. It was adorable. I still have a picture, but I don't know where it is. Not on my phone, that's for sure. So, I was making little snow family, and then a grade 5 came over and kicked it all down and pushed me down the snow dune. And with 10 teachers in that school, I am surprised that none of them saw this guy just kick me down. Let me give you a quick layout of the school. So right there, that's the school, and there are a couple exits. There's one right there. There's also an exit right there. And then next, in the middle, we had 2 little play structures. We had a small one and a big one. We had 5 days in a cycle. Day 1, grade 1s, day 2, grade 2s, so on and so forth. So, then we also had this huge forest nearby. We were allowed to play in the forest as long as we didn't break the trees or anything. There were a lot of stumps in there, actually, because it was pretty old. There's also a little pathway, but that went to a different field that we used only on certain days. And then the rest of it was just a big field. It was actually pretty fun. And most of it was pavement. The pavement only lasted until the field and the forest, and the pavement stopped. So I was sitting on the snow dune next to the tiny playground. And yeah, he just kicked me down. And I got up and I said, "Why did you do that?" Because I was just upset. I was like, "Why did you do that?" He said, "Because I can. I'm a grade 5. You're a grade 1. You have to do what I say." And I just said, "You're not my dad. You're not my brother. You're not the boss of me." And then he said, "What are you going to do about it, you little stupid squirt?" Back then I had super, super curly hair, so it would look like a little sprinkler. So, and then I just started to back off, and this guy just kept following me, so I just kept slowly backing off. He kept following me. And then a grade 1 ran by and pushed the guy over and said, "Leave her alone." And then a teacher ran over, and then grabbed the grade 1 and said, "You're not allowed to push people. Violence is not allowed in this school." And then he said, no, he was pushing her. And then I spoke up and said, yeah, that grade 5 was pushing me, and he stood up for me. Then that grade 5 got into attention, we started talking. I learned his name was Jacob. And so we started talking after that, and then I started hanging out with him a lot. Introduced him to Alicia when she got back from being sick. Pretty bad flu. She doesn't have a complete immune system like I do. Some people don't have a full immune system, so they don't get sick often, but when they get sick, it lasts for a while. This actually lasts for 2 weeks. I once got sick for a whole month. It would suck if it was summer. Alright, I'm getting off topic. Alright, so I laughed too much. Oh my god. Okay, so after we started hanging out, and actually a few years went by, and then grade 3 came by. And then grade 3, he told me some great news, and I said, what is it? And he said, guess who's coming to the school? And I said, and I'm like, Taylor Swift! Back then I was a big Taylor Swift fan. He's like, no, Taylor Swift is, no. Wait, it wasn't Taylor Swift. I forgot who it was, but it wasn't Taylor Swift, I know that. Taylor Swift was a different story. I don't know who it was. And this is the time when webkins were extremely popular and everyone wanted one. So, and I was in French immersion for the entire time I was friends with him. French immersion 1, 2, and 3. Alright. So, English was the only time I ever got to speak English! And recess. English and recess. It's normal. Alright, so, we started and then I was like, who? And then this popular star who I forget the name of now. So, and then he's like, no. And I said, who is it then? He's like, my cousin. And I said, you have a cousin? And I said, wait a minute. Your mom or dad has a sibling? He said, well, cousin by marriage. It's my stepdad's nephew. Yeah, for a second there I had to think of his niece or nephew. It's nephew. It's stepdad's brother's son. So I said, okay. What decided to make him move here? And he said, well, their old school was pretty bad, and they had a bunch of bad kids there because this school was actually from kindergarten to grade 12. So there's actually a lot of bad kids there. So, and then that cousin came to town, and he started hanging out with us, and then, weirdly, that winter was kind of odd. He would suggest always playing tag. I didn't know why he would always suggest playing tag, or hide and seek. Sometimes I was like hiding for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. I was running away and I would stand in one spot to catch my breath for 5 to 10 minutes at a time. So one time, I was in the corner next to the first entrance I showed you of the school, and I forget his cousin's name because I just don't want to remember it, and I don't really care to remember it. Alright, so Jay was coming at me from the play structure, and his cousin was coming at me from the side by where the second entrance was, and I did pass them and ran into the forest. And then I continued running and running into the forest, and then I just sat on a stump. And I was sitting there for actually a good 20 minutes. I had a watch, and I counted a good 20, over even 20 minutes. I was even over 20 minutes. And then I see Jacob crying, walking towards that area, and then I sneak a peek and see his cousin looking at me all shocked, and then he turns Jacob the completely different direction and just walks away with him. And I say, Jacob, are you okay? And then he turns around and says, I thought you ditched me. And I said, Jacob, I wouldn't ditch you. That's just rude. And he said, well, my cousin said that you probably ditched because we couldn't find you. And I said, Jacob, I ran for a whole minute. You know, I always come to this stump. This is my spot. And then Jacob said, my cousin said you weren't here. And I said, well, your cousin didn't even come looking. Because I've been sitting here for a good 20 minutes, Jacob. I've been counting. And I literally snapped at my watch. I just hurt myself. So So then after that, because in wintertime we were allowed to skate on the ice there. This was back then. So we started skating on the ice for a bit, and his cousin just sat there looking. Like, he started making little hearts, and I looked at him with a weird look. And then Jacob kept skating. I walked over and I said, "What's your problem?" He's like, "What do you mean?" I was like, you didn't even come looking at the stump where I was for a good 20 minutes. When we're playing hide and seek, I'm waiting for a good 10 to 20 minutes, 5 to 10, whatever, waiting for you to look for me, and you're not. And then I'm always waiting, and you guys just like never show up. What's wrong? And he says, You're what's wrong. And then he just walks over to skates with Jacob, and then ever since that day, and then grade four just was the worst year of my life. The beginning of grade 4, right before Christmas break, before I moved to where I am now. It was horrible. I hate looking back on that. So, my English grades were absolute trash because I was in French immersion. Same with my brother. Our English grades were trash because we were in French immersion. So my mom switched me into English. She thought that'd be better. And then all my friends were still in French immersion, so it sucked. So I would always be helping teachers out because after that day, Jacob just stopped talking to me. So whenever Alicia was away, I was basically helping teachers inside, mainly because I also didn't like the cold back then. So I was helping the teachers, and well, so one day we were doing history, and once we finished, she asked if I could return the books to a different teacher because we had a few extras, and they belonged to a different teacher. So I walked down the hall, I gave them to the teacher. This was before recess. So I gave them to the teacher, and then when I'm walking back, I see Jacob walking through the hall and say, "Hey, Jacob!" And I'm waving at him like this, hoping he'll notice me. And he looks at me like this and just walks away. And then I grab onto his shoulder and turn him around and say, "Jacob, did you not see me? I was waving to you and smiling." He said, "Yeah, I saw you. Who cares?" And then he just walks away, and that really hurt because, to be honest, I actually had a huge crush on him, and I was actually going to tell him because I was moving the next day, and just looking back on that week, it was horrible. And then the day after, I had a friend named Hannah back then, not the same Hannah that I have right now, a different Hannah that I've known since kindergarten, and we would be bathroom buddies all the time. So I talked to her, and she said, "Hey, how's Jacob being? I haven't seen you guys together in a while." And I said, "Yeah, he hasn't been talking to me in a long time. In a long, long time." And she said, "Why is that?" I was like, "I have no idea. He stopped talking to me, and so did his cousin, and I just don't understand." And she said, "Bianca, when did this start happening?" And I said, "Yeah, and it started happening after his cousin came." He said, "Girl, I know exactly what's wrong. Jacob's cousin is trying to keep you two apart. He's obviously jealous that Jacob is super close with you, and you guys are like super buddy. He probably feels like a third wheel on a tricycle. He's the front, all by himself, and you two are in the back together, always chatting." And I said, "Hannah, I doubt it. He hasn't talked to me. I wave, I say hi, I try my hardest, and he just doesn't even care. I don't know why." And then I was getting my stuff ready, and I heard Hannah actually yelling at Jacob. That girl really stuck up for me. I miss her so much. So she started yelling, and here's what I heard before I left. She's like, "You idiot! What's wrong with you? This girl is amazing. That girl is a soul. And she is pure, and she is amazing. She's been nothing but kind and nice to you. And all you do is treat her like dirt. Why would you do that?" And then what I heard him say was, that's exactly what she did to me. And Hannah's like, what did she ever do to you? What did this kind, beautiful soul ever do? And he said, she broke my heart. That's what she did. And Jacob started walking away, and then Hannah says, how did she even break your heart? And then he said, ask my cousin. He'll tell you everything like he told me. And then Hannah runs over to me before I'm about to walk out of that school for the last time of my life. And she goes, and then she told me everything. And she even told me what happened before. It was just a big yelling palooza. Doesn't even matter. And I said, what his cousin said? And she said, exactly. I told you his cousin is the problem. And she said, Bianca, I will do this for you. I will make Jacob believe in you again. And I said, Hannah, don't bother. He's never going to. He never will. He absolutely hates me. And that's just how it's always going to be. The end. Yeah, it's pretty open-ended. If I could go back in time, I would go back in time and yell to his face and ask him what I ever did to him. And why he would believe his cousin over his best friend. I remember when he came over to my house and we started playing on my first computer. It was pretty amazing and very happy. I just wish we could have those times again. But it's never gonna happen. I don't know where he is. I don't even know his last name. So yeah, guys, I hope you enjoyed this first episode of That Happened to Me. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, please remember to boop that like button and hit the subscribe. Also, leave a comment below of stories that happened to you too, and I'll call it That Happened to You. And I will tell your stories on a video. Hiccups. And I will tell it. So I really hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you want to see another, I actually have a couple stories ready. Yeah, a lot of bad, weird stuff has happened to me. I don't think they'll be worse than the one I just told you. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I'm Mr. Gallimoni. You stay true, be you. Bye.